Good morning, students. Students, we have already started with lesson number 1, Heredity and Evolution from Science Part 2. And in our previous lectures, we have studied about heredity and the changes, and also we have learned what is evolution and evidences of evolution, right? So, in today's video, children, we shall be learning about Darwin's theory of natural selection. So, children, let's begin. Let's start with Darwin's theory of natural selection. Charles Darwin had collected innumerable specimens of plants and animals, and depending upon the observation of those specimens, he published the theory of natural selection, which preaches the survival of fittest. For this purpose, Darwin had published a book titled Origin of Species. While explaining the concept, Darwin says that all the organisms reproduce prolifically. All the organisms compete with each other in a life-threatening manner. In this competition, only those organisms sustain, which shows the modifications essential for winning the competition. However, besides this, natural selection also plays an important role because nature selects only those organisms which are fit to live and the rest perish. Sustaining and selected organisms can perform reproduction and thereby give rise to the new species with their own specific characters. Darwin's theory of natural selection was widely accepted for long duration. However, some objections were raised against the theory. Some of the main objections are: natural selection is not the only factor responsible for evolution. Second, Darwin did not mention any explanation about useful and useless modifications. Third, there is no explanation about slow changes and sudden changes. Irrespective of all these objections, Darwin's work on evolution has been a milestone. Children, let's have an introduction to the scientists. Charles Robert Darwin. This English biologist proposed the theory of evolution. He showed that all the species of living organisms have been gradually evolved over the period of thousands of years from common ancestor. He proposed that principle of natural selection is responsible for this evolution. Now let us study what is Lamarcism. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck proposed that morphological changes occurring in living organisms are responsible for evolution and the reason behind those morphological changes is activities or laziness of that organism. He called this concept as principle of use or disuse of organs. Further, he said that the neck of giraffe has become too long due to browsing on leaves of tall plants by extending their neck for several generations. Similarly, shoulders of ironsmith have become very strong due to frequent hammering movement. Wings of birds like ostrich and emu have become weak due to no use. Legs of the birds like swan and duck have become useful for swimming due to living in water. And snakes have lost their legs by modification in their body for burrowing habit. All these examples are types of acquired characters and are transferred from one to another generation. This is called as theory of inheritance of acquired characters or Lamarcism. Understood, children? Development of organs due to specific activities or their degeneration due to no use at all was widely accepted, but transfer of those characters from generation to generation was rejected because it had been verified many times that modifications brought in us are not transferred to next generation, and thereby Lamarck's theory was disapproved. The living organism can transfer the characters which it has acquired to the next generation. This is called ancestry of acquired characters. Now let's have an introduction to the scientist Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. Lamarck proposed that the activities of the organisms are responsible for their evolution. This French naturalist proposed that each animal or plant undergo some changes in its lifespan, and those changes are transferred to the next generation, and such changes occur in next subsequent generations too. Now, let us learn speciation. Formation of new species of plants and animal is the effect of evolution. Species is the group of organisms that can produce fertile individuals through natural reproduction. Each species grows in specific geographical conditions. Their food, habitat, reproductivity ability and period is different. However, genetic variation is responsible for information of new species from earlier one. Besides, geographical and reproductive changes are also responsible. Similarly, geographical or reproductive isolation also leads to speciation. Understood, children? Now let's study human evolution. The biodiversity that is known today has been said to be formed from very simple unicellular organism due to evolution. In this evolution, origin of human evolution can be shown as per the picture. Last dinosaurs disappeared approximately 7 crore years ago. At that time, monkey-like animals are said to be evolved from some ancestors who were more or less similar to the modern lemurs. Tail of these monkey-like animals of Africa is said to be disappeared about 4 crore years ago. They developed due to enlargement in brain. Their hands were also improved and thus ape-like animals were evolved. Meanwhile, these ape-like animals reached the South and Northeast Asia and finally evolved into gibbon and orangutan. Remaining ape-like animals stayed in Africa and from them gorilla and chimpanzees evolved about 2.5 crore years ago. Evolution of some of the 2 crore year old species of ape seems to be occurred in different ways. They had to use their hands more for eating food and other work. Those apes started to live on land as the forest started to decline due to dry environment. Their lumbar bones developed in such a way that they started to stand in erect posture in grasslands, and thereby their hands became available for use anytime. These first human-like animals were erect posture, which were using their hands have evolved about 2 crore years ago. First record of human-like animals is with us in the form of Rampithecus ape from East Africa. Afterwards, this ape grown up in size and became more intelligent, and thus the ape of South Africa evolved about 40 lakh years ago. The morphology of these human-like animals started to appear like to be the member of the genus Homo about 20 lakh years ago, and thus skilled human developed. About 15 lakh years ago, human walking with erect posture was evolved. It may have existed in China and Indonesia of Asian continent. Evolution of upright man continued in the direction of developing its brain for the period of about 1 lakh years, and meanwhile it discovered the fire. Brain of 50,000 years old man had been sufficiently evolved to the extent that it could be considered as member of the class wise man, that is Homo sapiens. Neanderthal man can be considered as the first example of wise man. The Cro-Magnon man evolved about 50,000 years ago, and afterwards this evolution had been faster than the earlier. About 10,000 years ago, wise man started to practice the agriculture. It started to rear the cattle herds and established the cities. Cultural development took place. Art of writing was invented about 5,000 years ago, and thus the history had been started. Modern sciences emerged about 400 years ago, and industrial society was established about 200 years ago. And now we have reached at this age, and still we are searching the details of roots and human ancestry. So, my dear children, with this we have finished with our first lesson, Heredity and Evolution. Hope you found this lesson interesting. And children, please, after watching this video, read the lesson. We shall see you in the next video with a new lesson. Till then, children, take care of yourself and family. Thank you, children.